here I am, Fly Navarro, with the No BS World Tour. I'm coming at you live today with Carl Allen, the owner of Walker Cay. Carl, how are you today, sir?
Great, Fly. Thanks for the invite. It's really good to be here today.
Carl, thank you so much for joining us and giving everybody the opportunity to ask some questions about what is probably one of the favorite places for people here in South Florida to go to, Walker's. So as we start sharing this around on all the different platforms, I want to ask you, how exactly did you decide to purchase Walker's?
Not the long story. The short story is, I've always been around the water. I was born in Rochester, New York. My family had a house on one of the Finger Lakes, Canisius Lake, and I had a sunfish and a fishing boat. And then very young, we moved to Chicago, and I grew up on Lake Michigan, so I spent a lot of time on Lake Michigan. But it was really my stepfather, Mr. Walker, who introduced me to the saltwater, and I kind of grew up in Stewart a little bit, Florida, and he had a house, back since the early 70s, and I was 12 years old. We were out, you take a right out of the end of St. Lucie Inlet, you go down to the Kingfish Hole, and that was my first experience in saltwater, and I remember looking out to the east and saying, what's out there? And he said, well, that's the Bahamas. And a few days later, we had a friend of ours who had an old trawler, and the weather was good, and we crossed the Gulf Stream, and just I remember that, the blue water, and then you come into the greens and the yellows and on the banks, and then I remember saying to him, what is that? And he said, that's Walker's. And that was 43 years ago.
Wow.
And they told somebody, hey, I had the resources that I would buy it, so here we are.
There you go. Now, how long has Walker's actually officially been closed, that nobody's been going there?
Yeah, so really stopped in '04. Francis and Jean came through, two big storms that, went right into Stewart. And that really shut the thing down almost completely. And the owners just, decided not at that point not to bring it back. So it really sat there for 15 years. I would visit it all the time. I would go up there and walk the runway and, check out the old haunts and stuff. But it was, desolate there at that point. It was nothing there. So I sold a company that I had for many, many years, 4 years ago, and it was the first thing I thought about. And I brought a friend of mine in there, and we stood there and said, hey, I'm going to do this. And that was 2 years ago. To the date.
Okay. So 2 years in the making, and when do you expect Walker's to be open? To the public, should I say?
That question.
And listen, I'm not holding to you because we know, like right now, we know there's all kinds of things going on in the Bahamas. It's closed. You can give us 3 months. You can give it a 6-month window for all I care. I'm just curious.
So look, we've been hit by that whole area. Started last year. We had the Klein tragedy. Mr. Klein that changed the whole dynamics of that whole area. And then, of course, we had Dorian, which stopped everything. And my fleet and my crew, we spent a lot of time on the relief there, which stopped us on Walker's. And then, as we were getting going again, here comes the pandemic. But I'm going to answer your question real quick here. So, the marina itself, no structure. I'll have fuel, I'll have water and power, stuff like that. But I'm going to say late summer on the marina.
Okay. Late summer.
It's going to be just in time for a Skip Smith tournament, and next spring for a big Marlin tournament. I'm going to say May 1st.
May 1st
will be the grand.
There you have it. May 1st is going to be your first Marlin tournament.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Now, I did have somebody text me today that they had seen a video that you were offering up a reward for the first grander.
Yes, it's a little bit controversial right now because I have to do a couple things, but it's absolutely something I want to do because I think it brings, one, it helps the economy out there. The Bahamas needs that.
Absolutely.
There'll be a lot of people. But two, if it's run by especially a guy like Skip, I think it'll be done right. We're not out there to kill all these 600-700 pound fish by any means. We've got these new devices that are out there. But yes, there will be $1 million prize for the first grander that hangs there, and it will be from the Bahamas. We're not going to be bringing in a fish from New Zealand or Bermuda.
They've got to be going in and out of Walkers.
Yes, sir.
Well, there you go. There you go. But Walkers is more than just blue marlin fishing. There's all kinds of fishing around Walkers.
Oh gosh, it's amazing to me that it's 100 miles from Florida, and I'm like the guy doing this to Walkers, but it's everything. I mean, we've got the backcountry there with the bonefish. This fish you can see behind me, that's my biggest I caught just outside of Grant. But all the way to Strangers and Carter's Key, all the backcountry fishing. We don't have the number of bonefish that they do in the South, but we've got the size. We get our permits, not huge, but again, we get our permits, and we get some really nice tarpon fishing, like Sail Key and around there. And one of my favorite things to do is at the end of the runway, we got all those pilchers, and you go out and net a few in the morning and take them out to the reef, and it's just anything you want, really. And groupers and snappers, and then when the wahoo are around, you throw some wire on there, and I've caught a few wahoo doing that.
Nice. Not any real nice size wahoo, or just 30 to 40 pounders.
Not doing that, but last summer we caught. My son caught a 93-pound wahoo right off Walker's, like a mile out.
Wow!
And that's our biggest. We were trolling.
That's a nice one.
But to catch those 30-pounders just on light rigs like that, and it's so fun. But yeah, you were talking about the variety, and then I've learned from the old owners, and a lot of people I've gotten to know Grand and stuff. There's targets all over the place, the sailboats, and the reels that they use to run the cable from Walkers to Grand. Those are out there. It's one of the few places you can catch cobia in the Bahamas. There's blue holes. We've discovered 2 blue holes. There's all sorts of shipwrecks, that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. We've got a bunch of people joining in from all over the place. I've seen Maldives, Dubai. I'm not even going to go through all the shout outs here. I see Hawaii is joining in. I have a lot of people that are saying they've always dreamt of going to Walkers. Also, can I ask everybody that's watching this, could you just hit that share button and give everybody the opportunity to see this conversation with Mr. Carl Allen, talk about Walkers opening back up after many years being closed down, planned before the end of the year. How's that? Can we say that before the end of the year be opened?
Split the middle there, yeah, and I think as long as we don't have a real active hurricane season this year, and no pandemics, and somebody warned me about locusts coming in next.
The way 2020 is going, I tried to take it back and go for a refund. They said no refunds. We were stuck with what we got, but it's okay. We're going to make do, and because of what's going on, we've started this No BS World Tour where we get to talk about fishing all day long, or at least for an hour every day, and now we get to bring in guests and talk good fishing stories and stuff like that. Doc Conkle, a very dear friend of mine from the Panhandle, he's saying this is a great interview with a great man doing something wonderful for the Bahamas. So from Doc, Doc's a good dude. Doc's a great guy. Anyway,
do a lot of in the Panhandle. So
what's that?
I do a lot of quail hunting in the Panhandle.
Do you? So. Okay, he's from Pensacola. Actually, yeah, Pensacola. He's a doctor up there, and he was my dock partner for many years in St. Thomas. He had a GNS boat called the Miss Babby. So we spent many years fishing next to each other in St. Thomas.
When we say the Panhandle in Texas, we mean like Amarillo. Sorry
Oh,
about that.
no, I meant the panhandle of Florida. A lot of panhandles out there.
We've been inside a long time here.
So, but you're in Texas now, but you grew up out of Stuart, Florida. You spent a lot of time fishing out of Stuart, Florida. You said that, and I have to give a big shout out. You're wearing the Snook Nook shirt, which is a local tackle shop up there in Martin County. So big shout out to them. I'm sure they had some influence on you growing up, or at least through your years.
Yes, I've bought millions of shrimp from those guys over the years.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I want to go back, because in one of our conversations that I had with you, you mentioned that you're going to do something on the backcountry side of Walker's for bone fishing.
Yes. Very excited about part of the big development of Walker's is on the very west side in the cove there at the end of the runway. We've got a bonefish lodge planned. It'll be about 10 rooms, very quaint. There'll be a dock, bunch of Hell's Bays. It's going to be a beautiful view looking out to the north there, and it's going to be kind of separate from what's going on in the marina and down to the east side. But it's something I'm not going to do a lot of tournaments because I don't want to. It's so pristine out there that I just want small groups going out, and I'm looking forward to putting some of the local guides back to work out there. They're so excited. They're so good at what they do, and my backyard there it's fantastic. So
that's a great backyard to have.
Yes,
that's a great backyard to have. And tell us a little bit about your plans as far as accommodations on the island.
Yeah, so, my wife and I, we spent a lot of time thinking about how to do that. And, I guess with the storm and the pandemic, it's given us some more time to think about it. But we finally come up with a good plan. And we don't really like a hotel, so we're going to have these villas. They'll be, at the end of it, there'll be 50 keys approximately, 1 and 2 bedroom villas, very private, great views. There'll be the wedding chapel's coming back. We was on our Christmas card if anybody saw that. We're very excited about bringing the weddings. There'll be a honeymoon lodge at the west end there.
Nice.
And so yeah, as far as accommodations, we figure we will again have about 50 keys when it's all done, and there'll be 96 slips. So hopefully a lot of rooms are floating as well.
So tell us, when you say 96 slips, explain a little bit more how big some of these slips are. What kind of boats can you accommodate? I know that they're not all 80-foot slips. So if you can break them down for us a little bit, just so we get an understanding of what you're building there.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the renditions have been out there a little bit, but we wanted to kind of cater to everybody to keep this island busy, and so you have to recognize the center console market is massive, and there's $1 million center consoles that can get over from Stewart in about 45 minutes, and so
exactly.
I'm going to be catering to that group, so we'll have enough docks. 40 or 50 of those guys. Certainly, the expresses and the convertibles. I'm a big convertible. I got a 68 Viking that will be stationed there, and have plenty of room for the big, the big ones they're building, the 82s, the 92s. And then one thing we're real excited about is it'll be the first time in history you'll be able to get some big super yachts into Walker's. Not a lot, but up to 8 yachts. We figure up to 200 feet. The marina will be 14 foot clear at low tide. So
wow.
And a big wide turning basin. What's never existed in Walker's is a south break wall, and that was always a little challenging in the summer because you get those big south winds. You'll see when we're done, it's underway. As a matter of fact, a big break wall to the south, a big river going through it, so the clarity will, be just like the Gulf Stream in there, and we'll probably bring in the tiger sharks back. But
that's a given.
But it's kind of the basic design of the of the docks there. And it'll be floating 13 foot clear. We felt as though if we would have survived Dorian, because the biggest surge we saw at Walker's was about 8.5, 9 feet.
Okay.
So,
that's still pretty substantial, but it was for a storm that sat there for so long.
yes.
Now, and I see a lot of people asking and bringing it up. Walker's is synonymous with Flip Pallet. Flip Pallet had Walker's Cay Chronicles for many years on ESPN. I'm watching people up here mention I grew up watching Walker's Cay with Flip Pallet, and you have a relationship with Flip as well, correct?
Yeah, and it obviously started with the island, but I'm like you. We were living in Atlanta at the time. It came on ESPN at 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, and I'm up bright and bushy tailed. My wife's like, "Geez, you wake up at 6 to watch Flip. You won't go to church at 9." And so I fell in love with the show, and I always had known about Walkers, but it was 2 weeks before we actually bought the island. I called Flip, and initially he's like, "Yeah," he didn't believe me. He said, "People have been trying to do this for years, and whatever." I said, "Can I buy you dinner?" And he said, no, come on up to my house. He lives up in North Florida there. And so me and my wife and a buddy, we drove up there, and sure enough, he lives just like you'd think Flip would live, back in the woods. And, he sleeps outside most of the time. And he cooked us this wild boar and a chicken breast and had a wonderful dinner. And my phone rings, sitting in his living room after dinner. And it was actually my lawyer calling me, telling me that we had closed on Walkers. And so I looked at the group, and I said, how ironic is this? We're sitting in Flip's living room, and we just closed on Walkers. And I know I jerked the tear out of the guy. So that was a really neat moment.
That is so awesome. That is
really good. He's a great man. We're actually partners. I said I wouldn't do it, but I lied. Here's our frigate rum that me and Flip were involved in. You could probably see that on the ABC liquor stores. And if you buy two here on Flies, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. If you buy two here in the No BS World Tour, we'll charge you double for the third bottle.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I love it. You know what? I'm going to do a shameless plug as well, because my very close friend Richard Gunn just joined in from Lucas Oil. So I keep it right here. Give big shout out to Richard and Lucas Oil. So we can all do the plugs.
Yes.
So now also I want to, because you mentioned it, the name of the rum is Frigate, but that's also the name of your boat.
That was another weird thing with Flip and I, is we were sitting in his living room, and he had already named this rum, and I wasn't involved yet. And my buddy had a hat from our fishing boat called the Frigate. And he said, "Hey, thanks for bringing me that hat." And it's got the same exact logo there with the frigate bird. And I said, "Well, no, that's my fishing boat." And it was like, my God, this is something weird happening tonight. And the final thing that happened that night is we drove an hour away. Flip didn't even know we were going up to Titusville, and we stayed in the Blue Dolphin. It's a little bed and breakfast, really neat little place there. And it's late in the evening, and he hands us his key. And it's the Flip Pallet room. And so that whole day was just magic. And Flip and I become great friends, and we fished together a few times. He taught me I've caught hundreds of marlin in my life, and I never caught one on a fly until last year.
Really?
He taught us how. That was the most exciting thing we've ever done. And now, like, me and my captain's like, oh, that's all we do. Let's try and we'll catch a barracuda on a fly
now. So that first blue marlin you caught on a fly, was that out of Walker's?
It was 2 miles right off Walker's. It was a good goat fish, probably 150 pounds. And we were, I got all this fancy stuff that we tow and all our outriggers, and Flip says, no, we're going to tow a teaser. A teaser. We towed one teaser all damn day, and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? And sure enough, like charming a snake, he pulled that live marlin to the back of my boat, unhooked, and I think what I took away from the most as I stood there with my mouth open was how quickly a marlin can turn. I mean, he literally sat there doing circles, and that had never happened to me. So now we're fly fishing. We're purists. He's taught me how to be a purist.
I'm a purist.
Flip would say, what kind of fly rod were you using? I'm like, okay, thanks, Flo.
I love it. You go from trying the first time right to the purist. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yes.
So I'm trying to think, because that's a great story. I love fishing stories. That's thing. I was taught early in my fishing career, don't ever let the truth get in the way of a good story. And that's a great story. And I'm not saying that it's not true. I'm just saying that it's a great story. So, and I've done a little bit of fly fishing for billfish as well, but I've never been the angler. I've always either run the boat or been the teaser guy. And it is amazing because once you put the boat in neutral, there's no white water. You can see everything.
Yeah. Also, it's recognized as an IGFA fish if you're in neutral.
Absolutely. You have to be in neutral for it to count. You have to be in.
Yes.
So have you done any of the backwater fishing, fly fishing for the tarpon, bonefish permit?
Every day when we're there. Yeah. I mean, that's I got two Marquesas Hells Bay. I bought flips and I loved it so much I bought another one, and we've kind of partnered up with Hells Bay out there at Walker's, and we go all the way to Strangers. I love double-breasted is great. There's Romer Key. There's something to do on every key. It's just amazing. One of our favorite things is, and my captain, he'd rather do this than marlin fish, is horseye jacks. I mean, those things hit pound for pound, probably harder than anything, and you can catch them, in the fast running water on the edge of the islands. But the biggest ones seem to hang around some wrecks we know. In the world records, I think on like a 6-pound tip, it's only like 12 pounds.
Wow.
So we're trying to do that. The problem on the wrecks is they run into the wreck.
There's no way to stop them.
No.
There's no way to stop them. So I'm just gonna switch for a second, and then we can come back to fishing really quick. Tell us a little bit about, because anybody that's spent any time on the internet, they've read about some of the treasure hunting you do, and just to touch on it a little bit.
Yeah, so I was always into the water. I got certified as a diver when I was very young. I was in high school. I got certified in a quarry in November in a dry suit in Wisconsin. So you can see how desperate I was. But at a very young age, a buddy of mine, we took a trip to Key West and we met Mel Fisher. And, it was like a disease. He gave it to me. I almost went to work for the man. Thank God I didn't, because I ended up, building a nice company. But as we went through his museum, he used to have this old office that almost looked like a pirate ship. And my buddy had asked him, he says, Mel, with all this collection, did you find everything? And he's a really neat old guy, and he picks up a bunch of sand on the sand floor and puts it on his desk and spreads it out and takes his glasses and pushes a couple of kernels to the side, and he says, boys, this is what I found, pointing to the 2 kernels. He said, that is what is still out there. And I'm like, I wanted to come to work for the guy like right now.
Wow.
And so I started, looking for treasure amateurishly, very young. My family and I would go on vacations, and they secretly didn't know, but we were always treasure hunting. My kids would be like, "Please, Dad, why do we keep digging?" It's like, "Shut up, kid, keep digging." But Puerto Rico in 2004, I found a bunch of stuff that nothing valuable, but I found a cannon, we found a gun, we found a bunch of cutlery, all that stuff. But when I sold the company, part of it was Walker's. I said, part of it is I want to buy this on because there's a hidden agenda. I do like to treasure hunt. I've done it my whole life. And there's a particular ship I'm looking for. It's called the Maravilla. It sunk in 1656. It was split in half. It wasn't during a hurricane. It was in January, and two ships collided. They split in half, and I've got a permit with the government. It took me a long time to get. And we're building a museum in Lucaya that'll do the conservation as well.
Okay.
And that'll open up hopefully sometime this summer, so people come to see, because we've been doing this 3 years. The first year we didn't find much. The second year we found a little bit. Last year, right before Dorian, we started finding coins and found a little bit of gold, and I was like the priest on Caddyshack. I was like, oh my God, not now, God. And we had to stop, and we haven't literally been back since, because it's kind of a seasonal thing, and we've been helping big time with the Dorian relief and now the pandemic. But yeah, that's what we do. The restaurant in Walker's is going to be called Maravillas.
Maravillas. Okay.
Nuestra Señora de las Maravillas, which is Our Lady of Miracles, and it had quite a treasure on it. That it's somewhere between 30 and 60 miles away from Walker's. Somewhere there.
Somewhere in that general area. I'm sure you think about it quite often.
I do. I think about it right now, yes.
Well, I'm sure you're going to have a little bit of that rum once you find it.
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. We are hopefully going to have a good summer. We're all ready to go. So,
somebody has asked about your runway. People are asking about the marina and stuff like that, but somebody has asked, what is your plan with the runway, getting planes in and out?
Okay, so, I'm a big aviation guy. We've got a few airplanes. The runway itself is 2,600 feet and 6 inches. And we've used that 6 inches a couple times. It's in good shape right now. There's a few rocks at the end, but not bad. I'm probably going to resurface it when we open the hotel. But I'm real tempted to lengthen it. But there's no way I'm going to mess with that bonefish habitat down there. And so Pilatus, caravans, we have a Cirrus that's great for it. We have a little plane called an Icon. But, who wants jets coming in there anyway,
Kind of loud.
So, yeah. So
you don't want to deal with
that.
that.
But that small runway, if you need a big runway, you can go over to West End. There's 5,000 feet at the West End, but it's in good shape.
Excellent. I have a feeling when the doors open, you're going to have plenty of people coming over.
Yeah, and we're going to use, if people recognize there's, the old runway there that's I think it's only 1,100 feet. We're going to use that to park airplanes.
Okay.
So and we'll hopefully have av fuel when we get going as well.
Okay, perfect. So you can get fuel there and everything.
Yes. We'll have a little FBO, nothing fancy, but the neat thing about Walker's is you have that runway, but we also have a little custom shop, so you're checked in right there.
You can clear in whether you come in by plane or boat.
Yes, right there.
Perfect. No drive-ins though. Nobody's allowed to drive to Walker's by car.
No, that's pretty difficult. Yeah, we'll probably stop you at the border.
Okay, I got to ask these questions. These are difficult questions. Now, yesterday when we chit-chatted, you mentioned of a couple of Cuban jokes. These are the perfect time to drop those down if you want.
I'm going to hold off on those. I tested it out and no.
Hey, don't say I didn't give you the chance. We'll have to do it one day on the dock in Walker's.
There you go.
That's what we'll do. Anyway.
So, have you been to Walker's?
I have been to Walker's. Not a bunch. I think I've been to Walker's 5 different times. And my first time into Walker's was very unique because I came in by plane. I didn't come in by boat, so I had never seen Walker's. I didn't know anything about this runway. And I believe it was the old runway. And as we were flying in, the pilot, I flew from Stewart Executive. I was helping a friend of mine that had a boat there. And actually, you may know the boat. It was at Sailfish Point. The name of the boat was the Habu. It was a 48 Garlington. And the weather was turning bad, and he needed somebody to help him bring the boat back in a couple of days, picking up the owner. And so he says, show up to the airport, we'll fly you over. And just as we're coming into the airport, you can see Walker's. The pilot looks at me and he says, you know, most pilots, they do at least one flyby. Not me. I don't like doing a flyby. I like to just come in there. And I'm a young kid. I don't know, 22 years old. I didn't know what to expect until I thought he was going to land on trees. And just as the trees opened up, there's this little runway with prop marks and burnt planes. And I was like, oh my God, I'm only going to come here once. But no, we landed successfully. I ended up diving for a couple days. Unbelievable spearfishing. The hog fishing was phenomenal. I enjoyed it. And then I did a couple of BBC tournaments on the reel tight out of there. So yeah, I want to say I've been to Walker's 4 or 5 times in the early 2000s.
Okay. Yeah, when it was still going on. Yeah. That's great.
So hopefully that'll change.
Yes, we'll get you out there this summer. I hope. I really want to do that. So.
Somebody is asking, how is the Stake Channel?
What?
The Stake Channel. I'm assuming that's the channel coming in from the ocean, and I believe you've already covered that by saying it is going to be at 14 foot deep.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, so there's 2 ways in. The southern end's going to take. That's a big project. Small boats can come in, but it's about 1,800 feet that we're dredging around the southeast side.
Okay.
That one thing the hurricane did is it cleared it out. Like in certain areas it was 7 feet, and believe it or not, it's now 20.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's unbelievable. But 14 foot all the way to the docks.
And that's going to help get you those mega yachts coming in from Bermuda and the Med and stuff like that. That's awesome. Because there's not very many places in the Bahamas that can actually handle a boat of that size.
Yeah, I mean, you got Nassau, of course, and of course that's kind of far away, and Baker's Bay, but one, they're private, 2, they got hit by the hurricane real bad. So yeah, we're kind of the Lone Ranger out there, and you'll be able to drop off passengers and get them out on the plane, or buy fuel, or you could even buy fuel.
Perfect, even better.
Love to buy some fuel.
I love it. Is there anything you think we've missed that we haven't told everybody?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that it's about, I get a lot of questions about, what will the ladies do and the children, and so when my wife and I have talked extensively about, a nice pool. We'll have a spa area. I think that there'll be, certain games to play and stuff like that. But the way I look at it, if you're on walkers, do you want to play tennis? I mean, there's so much to do, from the diving and the fishing and the exploring, and the one thing I've learned that we've got a hell of a wave out there. At certain times we get those rollers from the northeast. We get all these surfers that come over and catch that wave there. So between that and the weddings and all of that, we really want to make it a year-round island.
It's more than just a fishing destination. It's going to have all kinds of amenities.
Yes, and the one thing about we've had lots of shark sightings. I don't know what it is, but I think the sharks have declared war on us or something. But they're coming right into the harbor, big tiger sharks. And so I don't know if maybe I can get some ideas from people out there, but the old owners, they used to have the shark feeding. We'd put everything in a barrel, and they would shark feed off the north end, trying to keep the sharks out of the harbor. So I'm not really sure. I'm not a shark expert. I don't know, but we're getting to the point where we're very concerned about sharks. A couple of my crew members have had some incidents, if you will.
Okay.
And with mainly almost like tiger sharks, because you can kind of predict the tiger shark. It's the damn bull sharks that we don't like. One here, then they're there, and they're just scary, and we see a lot of those guys. So any suggestions from your viewers out there on handling sharks, we'd take it.
I actually got a phone call yesterday after my live from a scientist and a guy that are putting together a new shark repellent, and they wanted to come do a live like this. And I said, send me all the paperwork. I want to read about it first. I want to read about it first and read the studies on it before I talk about it on here. I don't want to just talk about it on here without some kind of research. But I'll research it and forward you all the information.
That'd be great.
And
I can tell you is, we're going to have a big pavilion tent for, the fishing tournaments, the weddings that'll be out on this foliage area. That'll be very nice. There's going to be, hopefully, I come from the trash business. I used to make trash bags, and so I know a lot about landfills and trash and degradation and all that. So we're going to try and make it a zero waste island. I'm desperate to bring natural gas out there. We're going to do that first, and we want to handle our waste with several ways: reduce, reuse, recycle, and what we can't. Those three things we'll do. There's a machine called an anaerobic digester where you can put this into a machine and get little tiny biocubes, and I've seen it turn 70 pounds of trash into 7 pounds of trash in 20 hours. And so we're going to do that kind of stuff, and then the emission without diesel will almost like an 80% reduction, 50% reduction in noise, because Walker's is not very big. And so the reef, I got a national park that we're protecting out in front, and I think it'll be the first time that somebody will be able to watch it and protect it. We've partnered up with the government on that, and just trying to make it as little impact as I can, but then again bring it a place where people want to come back to, because I am amazed that we didn't buy an island. My wife and I have decided that we bought a legend. Is what we did.
You not only a legend, but a community to follow it. I'm watching these comments come in, people sharing stories of them going there as a kid, and it's pretty amazing. You bought a community.
Yeah, and the mayor of that community, Mr. Billy Black, and me and him have worked out a detail on a slip, and I can't wait to see the Duchess coming back in the harbor. That's going to be a day that we're going to document, is that boat coming back in and docking at the harbor.
Ironically, I just saw Alan Black, his son, join in here, and he said that he's surfed that point before that you were talking about.
Yes.
He has surfed that point before. So I'm glad you brought up Billy Black. He's going to be set up there as the local charter boat, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the way it was. I mean, the history of the island is so important to me. I've gotten to be very good friends with John Applenapp, and we want to make history, part of the future. We're going to have a wall or a room or something where we're going to have all the pictures. My daughter's running a collection of all the history of Walkers, and boy, we are getting stuff you would like. I mean, you ought to see these fish look at the records that are still held out at Walker.
It's amazing.
I'm amazed at these that are coming in, and just with my mouth open going, I've never seen some of these.
How cool is that? I mean, you mentioned a museum, but you're going to be Walker's itself is not only a museum, but it's where it was all created. That's the greatest part about it. That's
certainly one of the villas will be the Nixon cabin. There's a whole history with Richard Nixon out there. There's a rumor that he was on Walker's or Grand, that when he found out about Watergate, he was very good friends with the Applenapps, him and B.P. Rebozo. So, and then somebody wanted the Jane Fonda cabin. I said, well, we may not go there, but we looked at that Nixon. We called the library, and he was only documented there twice. But the Applenapps will tell you it was a lot more times than that. And he would come in secretly and not tell people where he was going. And there would be these literally 4 or 5 black helicopters that would land on walkers and drop the president off, and 10 Secret Service guys to go fishing.
How cool is that?
Well, there's some of that history there, but the tournament history. Oh my God, there's just I want to go back and look at some of the winners of these tournaments and try and contact those guys and see if they'll come out and recognize those guys.
You talk about tournaments there. One of the BBC tournaments, it was the North Abaco Championship, and I can't remember what year it was. I want to say it was 2000 or 2001, and it was so rough. Half the boats left, and only half the boats fished the tournament. And they created these T-shirts where it said, I want to say, "Real men fish the North Abaco Championship," and it was a picture of like a 53 Hatteras surfing down the side of a wave. It was great. I mean, it was just one of those things that I remember as a young man vividly. So yeah, there's a.
The tournaments are very important to me. I mean, that was literally one of the main reasons that I wanted to do this. And how neat would it be that we could somebody catch that $1 million fish in one of the tournaments? Would that be something?
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. That would definitely, and especially in today's world of social media where things get around so fast. Something like that, somebody coming back to the dock, you could literally, and the way we have technology where people are watching live around the world, you can actually watch as that fish gets weighed.
Now, I appreciate what you've done. Your dailies have been wonderful. I've been watching you every day, but I got to have a shout out to one of my favorite people, Wild Bill, Most Dangerous Catch. I hear he's one of your guys.
Wild Bill's awesome.
He's welcome at Walker's anytime. I want to have him out there to do some fishing where it's warm.
I will definitely let Wild Bill know. I'm trying to get him here on the live. I told you earlier I talked with Dave from Wicked Tuna today. Anybody that fishes and has some good stories to tell. My biggest thing, there's a lot of people, as we know, where a lot of people are stuck in their house right now and they're not able to go fishing. So let's talk about it. I'm used to traveling around the world 250 days a year on the dock or in a tackle shop talking about fishing, and here I am at my house every day. And I wanted to give everybody the opportunity to let's talk about fishing. And that's why I was doing it. And I know I've seen you join on some of the days when I'm up in the tower coming in from fishing. I've got it down to a routine. I climb up, hose everything down. I got 2 phones in my pocket. And then once I'm done, I start broadcasting because I don't want to miss it. There's a lot of people that really look forward to the information or just some contact with the outside world. And the reason we called it No BS is I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to talk about anything other than fishing and what we love to do and whatever it is you love to do. Let's talk about it, and let's talk about some positive stuff because there's a lot of people that don't have that opportunity right now. So I'm happy that I'm able to do it.
Yes. Well, probably, looking at Walker's, I think you said it earlier, it's just the variety that's out there, and it's amazing me it's so close to Florida, and again, these center consoles get over there so quickly. And, we'll probably have some interesting prizes for some of those backcountry fishing as well. Something to, put on the wall if people have something to shoot for. I'm a contest guy, so we'll see how that comes.
I think all fishermen are contest guys. I was telling somebody yesterday, I says, every day I go out fishing, I'm trying to beat everybody. I want to beat everybody. I want to catch more than everybody else. I don't mind if you catch 20. I just want to catch 21. That's, I never want to win a tournament because you catch less. I just want to win a tournament because I catch more.
I just want to be able to beat Billy Black. That's all I want.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, Carl, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Everybody here, everything I've seen. I'm going to go back through and I'm going to post up all your social media stuff Your guys have been so nice to send it to me. I'll put the links up on here so people can go check out all your stuff on Facebook, on Instagram. I know you guys even have a YouTube channel. I watched one of your videos that's really great with you and Flip. So I showed it to my girlfriend. She's like, "Oh, how cool is that?" So anytime I can get her to say something that's cool about fishing, I love it.
Hope you say nice things about horses every now and then?
Well, listen. Every once in a while, she drags me out, and I help her out on weekend. When I'm traveling a lot, I volunteer on the weekends just to spend time with her. So I'll hold the horse, and it took me a while. It took me a while to look at it like I look at a blue marlin. At first, they scared me because I didn't know nothing about horses. Then after a while, it's like it's no different than holding on to a leader of a big blue marlin. So that's
hey, I'm a huge fan, and what I'd like to do is come back in a month or two from Walker's, and we can and redo this.
Listen,
or come with me.
Absolutely, we'll put it in pen. I'm not even going to put that in pencil. I'm going to put that in pen. Let's do it again from Walker's once we can open everything up.
All right. And a Cuban and an American walked into
Yes, walked onto an island. I love it. I'm going to introduce you to Cuban coffee.
There you go, buddy. All right. Well, thank you so much, Fly, and
Carl,
appreciate everything.
All right, Carl. Thank you so much, and everybody, thank you so much for joining us here in the No BS World Tour. Thank you, sir.
You got it.